So here's a funny story. A few years ago, I had an opportunity to write a book. And so the goal was, my thought was, I could put together a manual, like a handbook for people who were trying to break into the music industry, either as artists or as industry people, specifically in gospel music, because that's my area of expertise. So I thought I could just jot down answers that I had come to know from years and years in the music industry at that point, things that I wish somebody had told me when I started. I thought this will shortcut people's process. I will answer all of the most frequently received questions that I was getting. People would call my office or email me, send letters to my bosses in the earliest days of my career. And I would open those letters and I'd see these questions. And it was the same kinds of questions over and over again. I thought, okay, once and for all, I'll write down the answers to all of these things. I'll make it accessible and I'll tell people the types of things I wish someone had told me. So I committed to this idea. I thought this is good. It'll be like the gospel music version of Donald Passman, which changed my life. And anyone who's ever read that book and really loves the music industry, it changed theirs too. Even if they don't admit it, it did. So I thought, okay, this will be like a mini version of Passman and specific to gospel. And then I'll sprinkle on top of it, ministry hints, things for people who don't just work in gospel because they like the culture of gospel music, the sound of gospel music, but also feel a passion in ministry, right? I'll sprinkle that in, and it's my 250-page opus, right? 250 pages of everything I wish somebody had told me in my earliest days. So here's what I did. I actually took some time off for work. And for about 6 months, 6 to 8 hours every day, I wrote. 6 to 8 hours every day, I wrote for 6 months. And secretly, I thought, this will change everything. This is my opportunity to give a gift to the next generation of aspiring artists and people like me, industry executives who were never conflicted about their creativity. They just wanted to, help creatives. I thought this will change everything. So I launched the book, I put it out there, and I waited. And about a week after the book was available every place, I started getting emails again with the same questions, phone calls with the same questions. Would go to speaking engagements, same questions. Nothing changed. The joke was on me. I was hoodwinked, bamboozled. At least that's what I felt. And it took me a really long time to get over that because I really wanted to make a difference. I really wanted to be a part of change, of making people's processes easier. So after some time, I moved on with my life. I started teaching. I went back to industry jobs. Life resumed. And that was just a thing I did at one point. And then something weird happened. This year, I started running into people who I felt were very along in their processes, people that I was happy to meet, people that I thought, I'm checking what you're doing right now, and it's good. And right before they'd leave me, or someplace in the conversation they'd slip in, when I was trying to decide whether I wanted to do this or not, I came across your book, and it really changed things for me. And honestly, that was super hard for me to hear because that's not how it felt to me. I felt like I took 6 months out of my life, 6 to 8 hours every day, and wrote and tried to legitimately give people everything I possibly could, the benefit of all of my mistakes. So I got bold and I went and I found a copy of my work and I started flipping through. And I realized some of this stuff is really good. And not only were the things that I thought then were core for then, many of the concepts in there, I think, have become more crucial than ever for those of us out here now. So I think it's time to revisit this stuff with a few more years, of a little bit more maturity, a little bit more perspective, and not so much neediness from me, neediness to make change. Just trusting if you put good things out there, they have a way of impacting who they're supposed to impact, and that just needs to be enough. So here's what I'm saying. If you think you might want a career in the music industry, if it's gospel, that's great. A lot of these concepts are universal. If it's gospel, that's especially good if you have a ministry leaning. If you think that might be you, If you want just some real day-to-day information on how to get started and what it looks like in this career field, if you want something to tell you whether this is even worth your time, whether this is even what you think it might be, if you want a one-on-one with somebody who's been doing it for a minute, if you want a way to make the most out of once-in-a-lifetime opportunities in your journey towards a music industry career, this content might be for you. I actually think it might be time for a refresher. Let's see what we find out.